minute, Jack. This is a friendly celebration.
I don't much like the way you celebrate.
If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.
Hello, everybody. This is 4 Men in America, and I'm joined by Paul Fitch and Jeff Hooch. This is Don Woolley speaking to you from Florida. Paul and Jeff are in Arizona. So we don't have any real topics for today. What I was going to do was, guys, I was going to let you bring up anything in the beginning that you'd like to talk about or address or mention or give us some breaking news, and then I was going to hook on to Twitter here and see if we could find some things on Twitter, current events, real-time social media that we could look at and talk about. Now, we can talk about, first we can talk about President Trump's speech on Tuesday night, not only his speech, and but also the reaction to his speech, which is, but I was telling Paul, Jeff, that honestly, when I was listening to about an hour into President Trump and everything that was going on and what he was saying, I had never been more proud of working for a person to run for president than I was Tuesday night. You know, I was so proud that all of us did everything we could to get him elected, get him in office. And so we ought to all feel
the contrast is quite amazing.
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
Quite amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's just unbelievable. And then today he's got them all excited because he's going to sign an executive order to get rid of the education department. So
that's a long time coming from a lot of former presidents who promised to do it.
Yeah. So he's got Linda McMahon's in there now, and well, it was created. I just heard today it was created, and I didn't remember this. It was created by Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
So it's time to get rid of it.
It is.
No, it was time to get rid of it when Jimmy Carter was president.
Yeah, that would have been the best time. Yeah. So anyway, any comments? What do you guys think? What do you think about it?
I'll defer to Paul first, and then I have a lot But I'll defer to Paul first.
Okay. Yeah, let's not let Jeff get started because I can see the ball is rolling.
Recording in progress.
Okay. The thought I want to have is, you said the contrast, Don, and the contrast between the right side of the aisle and the left side of the aisle was so stark and so embarrassing, frankly, from the standpoint of being the United States of America, that it was just atrocious. Even Fetterman is complaining about the Democrats at that talk. Now, John is we all assumed he was brain dead when he first came in, but he seems like he's gotten some TBI relief and is starting to think a little bit. And he's kind of coming around. I wouldn't be surprised if he switches at least to independent in the not too distant future, because he's really down on the Democrats right now. And I think that we're gonna see but the fact that the Democrats couldn't applaud or stand up for that little guy that got the Secret Service, badge and survived 6 years of brain cancer and 2 Gold Star moms, or whatever you want to call them, that are killed, or the angel moms, I guess they call them, that are when their daughters or children are killed by the illegals. All of those things that the president brought out, which were non-political. A little kid surviving brain surgery and getting a honorary appointment to the Secret Service is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. It's a hero story, and why those people couldn't even bring themselves to applaud that little kid or Laken Riley's mother, or the anyway, it just floors me that those people are so steeped in TDS that they can't come out of their shells and enjoy life and be American. And anyway, I thought the president's presentation and the points that he brought up were fantastic. It was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes in a row.
Oh yeah.
And it was just it was like you said, it's heartwarming and pretty darned impressive that the guy that has taken the slings and arrows that he has. Yeah. I mean, the way he's been beat up on, and to stand up there and tell them, try as you may, I'm going to make America great again in spite of you. Yeah. And that's really what he said.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, his comment to me that was most poignant was when he pointed at him and he said, if I were to cure an incurable disease, you people wouldn't smile, clap, or stand up. Yeah. He just pointed him out and explained just how the cow ate the cabbage. So, all right.
I don't know if you guys noticed when he walked in, if you saw at the beginning when he was walking in, and well, all of his cabinet was walking in, talking to people and shaking hands, and he was walking in. There was a congressman on the left side of the screen, and there was a Democrat woman on the right side of the screen. She had a sign that said, "This isn't normal." She was holding it in front of her. And as Trump walked by and everybody went by, the congressman reached over and grabbed her sign and chucked it.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was. You go back and watch the video. It was pretty funny.
I thought it was funny when he was standing right in front of Schumer. Yeah. And Schumer would look at him.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows Chuck real well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I know Chuck pretty well too.
Yeah. You know what? You know what Rush used to call him, right? He called him Chuck U. Schumer. So go ahead, Jeff. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, I love Paul's comments. Yeah, I do think it was great. I missed the first part, but it was long enough for me to catch most of it. We had my Heirs of the Republic meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I'll have some comments on what I learned there. But I was really impressed. I got to say, the speech writers for Trump need to understand, though, that if you give them an hour speech, it's going to be an hour and 40 minutes and an hour and 15. Because but what makes it so special, and I'm not saying that derogatorily,
right,
because he likes to ad-lib, but that's what makes it authentic and real, because he really shows who he is when he reads part of the speech and then comments on it. Of course, sometimes that gets him into trouble also, but it also is kind of fun. But it is kind of sad, the state we've gotten with the Democratic Party, because they are hoping he fails. And, they're willing to sacrifice almost everything to show he fails. And I think he's going to be successful in many, many areas. But the one area we do have to be careful, but I do think it needs to be tackled, is the economy. Because look, when somebody coming off of cocaine or drug use or whatever, they're going to be addicted and go through withdrawals. And as a country, we've had our own cocaine. It's called money. And we've printed it like there's no tomorrow and spending it like we're drunken sailors. And so, when we come off that, there's going to be some issues going on. And the danger is, we need to do it for the future of our country.
Oh, yeah.
But the danger is, how is it going to affect our economy now? And just like anybody coming off a drug, there's times that they will do anything to get back on that drug.
Yeah.
Because it's so painful. And I'm not saying it's going to be like that, but there's a danger of that, of that happening. And there's a danger, by the way, of the left using that to actually exacerbate the problem and focus on it and actually cause worse of an economy than needed to be.
Yeah, talking about the debt. I just want to interrupt for a minute. Welcome, Ken. Good to see you.
Sorry, guys. I was on a call with a reporter, and I just could not get off.
Yeah,
no problem. That's how those reporters are. Those guys are rough. So anyway, Jeff was talking about Trump's speech, and I wanted to mention that our debt is going up, and I just saw this number, $6.9 million per minute.
Yeah.
Now think about that,
If
$6.9
that's,
million per minute.
if that's what adds up to, if that's what adds up to $1.9 trillion a year, that sounds right.
It does. So go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I just think we need to be cognizant of that the real danger is that once you start turning the spigot off, it's going to have real consequences. But for long-term growth and stability, it's something we need to do. And so I think we need to be real careful about, how we judge the next year. And we may be paying a small price on economic development, but that's also what's most important to people. And I'm not saying it is going to go down, but there's certainly a risk of it happening. Between the tariffs.
I was unimpressed by somebody, and I can't remember which one it was, Democrat it was, that says he's been president for 2 weeks and prices haven't gone down.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
You got to be kidding me. Turn the Queen Mary in a half a mile when it's doing 30 knots.
So, but I'm thinking about, the Democrats' national convention they held. I think it was in August. No, it was, I think it was in August. But anyway, there was a lot of flag waving. I think they knew they were losing the battle for patriotic Americans. But, with all the things that the left stands for, I'd really like to say the flag waving, like, what does America mean to you? Do you think it's exceptional? How so? How would you define an American? What beliefs do you think we all have in common that we can rally around? I'd like to ask those questions. I think the Blue Dog Democrat could answer them, but I don't think the majority of Democrats anymore are Blue Dog. I think, the extreme of the party has taken over. And I think obviously because they were cowed into not clapping for Trump, even when good things were said. So that had to come from leadership. And if they're cowed that much, I mean, I don't know how they can be flag waving and not supporting some of the things that's going on right now.
And they cow them with with money, fundraising. They deny fundraising, or they deny them committees. That kind of thing. That's what they use to threaten their members, right?
I know, but there's something called a soul, and
sure. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the bright side is, they're digging their hole, so let's let them keep digging, right?
But the left will spin everything. I mean, it's really amazing with Trump and Vance in the White House with Zelinsky. And, if you read even the Wall Street Journal versus what came out on the Daily, what is that? What is Ben Shapiro's group? Daily Wire?
Daily Wire, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think there'd be two different meetings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sure. How bad Trump and Vance were, and the other side, Zelinsky. You really have to watch it yourself and understand who's holding the cards. But I think because Zelinsky came back to the table, we know, that what Trump did was most likely the right thing to be doing.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that he was told to wear a suit to the White House?
No,
Haven't heard that.
Yeah, that's the inside scoop from some people that supposedly in the know, that he was told that when you come, all you got to do is come, wear a suit, sign the document, eat the lunch, and leave, right?
Yeah.
And so
when's that happening?
Yeah, well, we're going to find out, right? Because he's all buddied up with Europe now. They're going to save him, so we'll see.
One of the things that I pointed out to Mary Margaret during that fiasco with Zelinsky and President Trump and Vice President Vance was, as a contract negotiator, that's what I did almost my entire adult life, was contract negotiations, domestic and foreign. And I would never have done any kind of contract negotiation or negotiation on television. That was so foolish, because now when you're in the room with the other guy, you can go toe to toe. But when you're trying to appeal to 330 million people in your country and however many are left alive in Ukraine on your side, you're not negotiating yourself anymore. you're selling yourself to your audience and hoping that something good happens in the negotiation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course, in this case, you can almost say something good did happen because of that. But at the time, it sure looked like a terrible thing, because it looked like the whole thing was just going to blow up and Ukrainians were going to die by the millions with no help from us. And that would be a bad thing. But it turned out maybe that's what it needed to have happen. But again, a negotiation like that, when you got people looking over your shoulder, I can't even negotiate. I mean, seriously, I can't even negotiate with a co-negotiator with me in the room, because they'll come up and say something because they got a different thought process.
Sure.
And I'm working down a road, and then they come in with this side base slam and knock you off your whole thought process. So anyway, that was my point about with the Zelinsky thing. Of course, he was being a butt, but anyway.
So Ken, give us your input on Trump's speech. What did you think?
I haven't even seen it yet.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
I was traveling back from Utah. We went up to Utah to visit the kids and grandkids. We spent 2 days. We're looking for a second home up there.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we're trying to find a basement or a casita as part of our youngest son, who just got married and now has 4 kids because of that marriage.
Well, that was fast.
So, yeah,
that was fast.
Yeah, our grandchildren count went from 4 to 8 by Cliff marrying a wonderful lady who has 4 children from a previous marriage.
Wow.
So
Wonderful.
And he says the worst day of his month, every month, is when he writes a over $3,000 rent check on a home that they had been renting, and they're not building any equity, so they are working to beat the band to find a home that fits them. But we're also trying to find a downstairs or a casita or something that can kind of be Gene and I's place. And so literally I was totally focused on what I needed to focus on for my family. Sure. We were driving. Yeah. Was it Tuesday night? Let's see. It was Tuesday night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We looked at 5 homes in 4 hours Tuesday night, and I did not have 1 extra minute to squeeze in the president.
Did you pick one?
Yes, we made an offer and accepted a counter offer this morning, and some due diligence weeks begin here.
So then you're forgiven for missing Trump.
Oh, sorry.
If you wouldn't have bought it, Ken, then we'd have some issues.
Right. Yeah, you bought it. So good. You made a deal. So you're going to go back and forth, Ken? Is that what you're going to do?
Yes, but I think Jean's going to probably split her time, 6 months up there, 6 months down here.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's good.
I don't know if I'll get all the way up there a full 6 months. I'm applying for the city manager position over in the city of Cottonwood, Arizona,
really?
in the Verde Valley.
That's great.
Oh, wow. Yeah, cool.
So I'm supposed to hear in another few weeks whether that's coming through, and
cool.
That'll keep me down here. My 87-year-old mother is just around the corner from our place in Prescott, and I like to see her every day or almost.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm going to be pulled in several directions, but
very good.
A place to lay my head when I'm up in Utah was one of our priorities.
We will work on arranging a convenient time for you, so you don't leave 4 Men in America. Huh?
Oh, well, I'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll get it set up right. But I wanted to let you know.
It's good to hear Ken is using his talents in that community, because we need good people locally.
Oh, yeah.
I really do believe, and we're all interested in national politics, but, the big changes also need to happen locally.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
we need to be a part of that.
Well, with your experience,
I just heard that the city of Phoenix is dealing with a $300 million deficit in their budget. And the city council is talking about increasing sales taxes to fill in that. And so usually the budget pressures that are evidenced in the federal budget are similar challenges that I faced during the 10 years that I was in the Arizona Senate, 4 years as president, trying to put together the state budget. Yeah. And then you get down to county and city budgets, and you got the same pressures.
Sure. Yeah. So they have a good mayor in Cottonwood? You like the mayor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
good.
they just had an election in November, and 5 of the 7 mayor and council positions turned over. So they're in a kind of a transition, but they did have a bit of controversy a little more than a year ago. The city manager and the city attorney walked out just one day. They both threw their keys on the table and walked out.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so,
man, I wish that happened in Tucson. I would love that to happen in Tucson. We'd be celebrating in the streets. My goodness.
but I like the council. I think they've got a good nucleus. Well, I think all 7 have the best interests of Cottonwood at heart, and are local folks, of course. And I'll be commuting from Prescott, but I'll probably get a little place over there as well.
Oh, good. Well,
It's about an hour.
Set up
About an hour drive, which is better than the hour and a half. I drove an hour and a half every day to go to the Capitol and back from Prescott. I can drive an hour to Cottonwood.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
yeah, you can listen to 4 Men in America podcast.
That's right.
There you go.
There you go.
That's right.
Or the President's State of the Union address.
There you go. That's right.
So
that'll
Ken,
take you a couple trips.
Next week, Ken, the 13th, and I told Jeff and Paul that I'm going to be at Jeff's going to be in Spain, heading for Spain. Paul's going to be heading for Denver, and I'm going to be at a fundraiser for a Christian group called OM Ships. I don't know if you've ever heard of them or not.
No.
What they do is they have a warehouse in South Carolina. They collect Bibles and Christian books, and they own a couple of large ships, and they put the books on the ships, and they take them all around the world. And,
cool.
And give them away for free. It's kind of like a floating mall where people go on the ship and find the book they want or the Bible they want, and it's a pretty cool thing. So that's
next Thursday.
So next Thursday,
we're not doing it. Okay.
We're probably not doing it unless you and I want to do it at a different time.
Next Thursday is my 44th wedding anniversary.
Oh, good for you. Well, it works out perfect.
That's the nail in the coffin of our show next week.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So
hey, but Don, you mentioned the group that does Bibles all over the nation.
Yeah.
Something I did not know, south of Cincinnati, somewhere in Kentucky, they have a full-size replica of Noah's Ark.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
it's close to Louisville. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did not know that.
Yeah.
And so for any of our listeners, that would be a neat destination vacation just to go in there and look at that, because I mean it's life size.
It is. Yeah, it's called the Ark, and next to it is the Creation Museum. And our church is actually taking a bus up there next month. A group
is that right?
To go tour it. So Patty and I are going to be on a trip west, so we won't be able to go. But yeah, it's a lot of talk out here about the Ark, and it's pretty close to Louisville. So yeah, that's good. So yeah, we're going to be in Arizona probably. It's not positive because it all depends on the weather. If the weather's pretty good, we're going to go to Colorado early in the month, and if it's not, we're going to go right to Arizona. So I will keep you guys informed of when we're going to be.
Great. Yeah, it'd be great to see you.
Yeah, I'd like to see you guys
too. If I'm in town, it'd be great to see you.
Yeah, we'll see if we can work that out. So let's plan on next week. And also, Ken, we changed clocks Sunday night this week. So I'll keep you guys at 3:30 because it's easier for just one person to change. I can move to 6:30. So
yeah, Arizonans don't like to play those changing the clocks games.
I know. Yeah, Paul and I said don't tell us you're on California time because that's embarrassing.
That's right.
So good. Okay. So next week, no show. How about March the 20th? Are we going to be good for March the 20th?
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Ken.
Let me
Jeff?
see. Yes.
Well, I'll be traveling the next 3 weeks. So
okay. Well,
I doubt I'll be available, but we'll see.
Yeah, try to hook up, Jeff. That'd be great. It'd be fun to get a perspective from Europe, even if it's 3:00 in the morning.
Yes. Yeah. Not sure.
I'm not sure I want to see Jeff. I'm not sure I want to see Jeff at 3 o'clock in the
Well,
morning.
it would be, let's see, 3:30 here. Yeah, 3:30 here in Arizona would be like, what, about 10 hours ahead? So
yeah, I think I will be 8 to 10.
8 to 10 hours, right?
Arizona is 7 hours from GMT.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's
So
going
I'll
to be
be a
pretty
little
close to that. So
Where does GMT hit in Europe?
London.
That's London.
Right through London.
London?
Yeah.
The prime meridian.
Yeah.
Didn't you learn that in geography?
Oh, yeah, he
No, I
learned
did
it.
not. Oh, I forgot it. I probably learned it and forgot it. But
So
I'm doing that all the time.
So going back to Trump's speech, Ken, I want you to know, and I told Paul and Jeff this, as I watched his speech, we were about an hour into it. It was an hour and 45 minutes at least, something in length, but about an hour into it. I have never been more proud of working for somebody, especially a president, to win the presidency. I was never more proud of my vote, proud of what he's doing, you know, and of course the Democrats were just embarrassing themselves, so that part of it was just pathetic. But he was just terrific.
Well, I see that 10 Democrats joined the Republicans in censuring the one guy, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they must be in very sensitive districts. They must be, right? So anyway, anything else you guys want to bring up or talk about, or anything going on locally?
Well, in Tucson, they're trying to increase the tax for the city. And so, you know, that's another pressure. But it really is, to me, it is astonishing that government can't figure out how to make it work within the budget they've given. And that, you know, and as a society, we need to be able to rein in our belt. You know, when I was young, I never understood this. My dad said, Jeff, get your degree, get a government job, just relax, and you don't have to do anything. I mean, this was in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And my dad was saying this. And I'm not saying all government employees don't do anything, because I know there's some good ones. But I also know that in bureaucracies, you know, the work expands to the time you have to do it, you know. So if you're doing an inspection and you have a day to do it, well, it's going to take you a day, you know, because that's the time you have to do it. And I just, somehow, we as a free society need to figure out how to tighten the belt on the bureaucracy and kind of make it more entrepreneurial, if you could imagine. I mean, look, in my whole career, my entire career, and I own my own business, I have never once looked at the clock and said, hurry up. Not even one time. And, you know, I know for a fact, you know, that, you know, government jobs, it's like, okay. And that could be with a lot of other jobs, but somehow we can be more efficient in the way we're working and what we expect out of people. And I wanted to comment on, you know, this is a couple weeks old now, but Musk's asking of government employees to tell me 5 things you've done. Now, I got to be honest. If I heard, even if somebody submitted it but complained about it, I would fire them right there. You know, because look, in the private sector, you know, if your boss tells you to give you 5 things, or somebody delegated by your boss told you to do 5 things, guess what you did?
Yeah.
You'd submit it.
Sure. Of course.
You know, and I think we expect too little from the private sector. You know, finding out about Nancy Pelosi and how much she's made.
You said private sector. I think you meant public sector.
No, public. Yeah, we expect too. That's right. We expect too little from the public sector.
Right.
Yes, and somehow there's got to be some efficiency gains. And I'm not saying I know how to do it, but I am saying that it's amazing what you can do when you have to do things.
Well, you know, my experience was working for a large corporation like Raytheon. We had goals every week and every month.
Sure.
And so we had to meet our goals. And to me, that's same thing as telling them what the 5 things I did. I mean, they knew the 5 things you did last week, right? At the end of the week. If you didn't meet your goals, you were called on it. Somebody talked to you about it. So everybody, and you pass down goals too to people working for you. So go ahead,
I think
Paul.
one of the problems in the public sector is the way promotions are worked on, or I don't know if you work, whatever I'm trying to say. Promotions. If you want a promotion, what you got to do is have more people under you.
Right.
So
you expand the bureaucracy.
You expand your base.
Yeah.
That raises you up a notch, and then somebody down there does the same thing, and pretty soon you've got you who was your only job was to open and close the door. Now you've got 17 open and door closers underneath you, and you're making GS 43 wages, and as long as that system's in place, you're going to keep working to your budget, and then overrunning your budget, because if you don't overrun your budget will be smaller next year. And so that's one of the reasons that they have the use it or lose it programs in the military and the public sector. So we've got to find a way to make it so that if you're an efficient GS-11 with 3 employees with $1 million budget, if you come in with an $800,000 expense for the year, that $200,000, $100,000 goes to the back into the treasury, and $100,000 goes to you, and your budget next year is $900,000 instead of spending the whole $1 million and then looking for a 10% raise. If we work some kind of program like that, where there's some efficiencies and some incentives for people to do their jobs and to work hard to do them, I think we could probably change some of that malaise. So.
And Ken, you nailed it one time when you said that when they talk about the government growing by 10% and you only want it to grow by 5%, they call that a 5% cut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, your experience.
Now I did read an article a couple days ago from a editorial writer here in Arizona who I respect, Bob Robb. And he pointed out something that has me really thinking about this. He said the total of the $7 trillion federal budget, only about.
Go ahead, Ken. I got to step
only
out.
Only about 300 billion. That's a lot of money, but only 300 billion is personnel costs. Now that seems. But when you think about it, over $1 trillion of the $7 trillion is now just interest on the national debt.
Right.
About $1 trillion is, or about 800 billion is just Social Security payments to people. So those aren't positions; those are just payments to people.
Right.
The military is probably
800 billion.
800 billion. What percentage of that do you think is payroll costs?
That is a good question. I do not know. That's a good question.
Because Mr. Robb said that the total payroll cost of the federal budget's only 300 billion, even if Doge or something because of Doge cut 1/3 of the payroll costs of the federal government. It would go from 300 billion to 200 billion. You only save 100 billion out of 7 trillion. Now, 300 billion, that's like saving $100 out of 7,000.
Right. But
so
I
the
think
point he was making is we don't balance the federal budget by cutting, even if we cut all of the positions in the federal government, we would only cut $300 out of 7,000 total dollars that the government spends.
Understand, but the rest of the story there though would be, for instance, like the USAID, right? That their budget on personnel might be $1 billion, but they've got a $48 billion budget to play with.
Right.
So the rest of the Paul Harvey rest of the story is get rid of the people and the programs. It's not.
I'm just trying. Yeah, and you're helping to make the point I'm trying to make is that we can't balance the budget entirely by just cutting people.
Yeah.
No,
We've got to
absolutely
find
not.
efficiencies in monies that are being spent that really don't need to be spent.
Right. Well, but part of it is I was going to bring up, look, is the people that we're cutting, hopefully, are, look, we do need government. Okay. Everybody admits that. But just like the Bureau of Land Management was set up in the 1930s to be an aid and arbiter to, the Dust Bowl, to the farmers, to the ranchers. And what it turned into is the Gestapo to the ranchers and farmers. And it wasn't their aid. It was a rock. It was a rock in their shoe. It was a thorn in their side. And none of the ranchers like BLM anymore because they try to take away your ranching rights. So it happened just the opposite. So we need government to the point where it's supposed to serve the people. But when you get in and it's acting against, your interests and they all of a sudden think they're supposed to try to thwart you. And I, as a developer, I can give you 100 examples. I mean, right now in the town of Marana, I've got a little 10-acre parcel, okay? And it has been under review. So it's a 10-acre parcel being tried to split into 3-acre parcels. It has the right zoning. It's on a private dirt road, okay? It's got water and electric. We are on our 7th submittal, and they keep making up things every time we submit. Oh, yeah, we need this, and we need this, and we need this. They have probably spent on the government dime for 3-acre lots, probably $100,000 in taxpayer money, which is ridiculous. Okay. The same people that say we need to have, inexpensive homes make it incredibly hard to build. They try to justify their jobs by throwing roadblocks. And this isn't everybody, because there's some good people in the town of Marana that try to help facilitate it. But when the laws get on the books and then you get somebody in there that decides they want to have their own kingdom and they're going to be by the letter of the law, regardless of the spirit of what's going on here, it's a little overboard. And so I have no problem cutting people, because a lot of those people look at their jobs and for business in America, it is a weight, it is a drag, it is difficult. And I'll give you another quick example. We did a big development back in 2005, and Pima pineapple cactus is an endangered plant, down there in Pima County. And so you spend $1 gazillion with biologists looking to see if you have environmental impacts and do all this stuff. And in effect, the big thing is you've got to set aside all this land, and then you have to pay the federal government a lot of money, and then they buy up other land. Okay. But when it comes right down to it, you just blade the Pima pineapple cactus, but you've got to pay all this money to do it. And it slows down if it was just money, maybe I wouldn't complain enough, but that's like a year-long process to be able to get through all these 404 designations. So we are way, way over the edge on how we can make things these days. Look, we won World War II in 4 years once we got in, or helped win it. The United helped win it, and we can't do an overpass in 3 or 4 years. They're saying you couldn't build a Disneyland today or Disney World because of the environmental impacts. So we're stifled. So all I'm saying is we could have a better chance of balancing the budget if we would start to become a free people again and err on the side of liberty instead of bureaucracy, and get back to what we're good at, which is producing.
And that's one of the things that Trump mentioned in his speech. You remember, he said that they're going to, for every regulation, they're going to cut 10. His first term said 5. Now he said 10. So they're going to try to dereg all this stuff.
We're going to have to take bureaucracy off of people and let the entrepreneurship of capitalism and the American people start to grow the economy. Cutting some people is going to be very important to getting those roadblocks and rocks in the shoes out of
Yeah.
the private sector.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to grow. We can't just cut 1/3 of the
Right.
federal personnel costs, which is $300 billion, and expect to, even if we cut 1/3, that's $100 billion. The national deficit is almost $2 trillion.
Right.
So we've got to unleash entrepreneurship and growth, and I'd like to see the federal government sell or give all those lands that BLM and the Forest Service and whatever
Back to
are
the
trying to
states.
maintain out in the western states to the states and let them run them.
Yes.
American Lands Council, go for it.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand. I don't know if you guys heard this. I heard about Small Business Administration, who's being run by, I'm trying to think, Kelly. I think her name's Kelly Hoffler. She was a senator from Georgia that lost a special election. She's on Trump's cabinet now as a SBA administrator. Yeah, she has just said, she announced first DOJ found a bunch of several $1 million loans to people from the SBA that are over 125 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing that they discovered. Yeah. Now what she's doing is she says, okay, if you want to be a sanctuary city, we're taking all the SBA offices, we're closing them in sanctuary cities. There won't be any SBA office in a sanctuary city. And they're not going to loan any money to anybody that can't prove they're an American citizen. So there's a lot of wheels turning in a lot of these departments
there
now.
is.
Once these guys get into to start running things, So and that's all good news. So
Hallelujah.
yeah, hallelujah is right.
And speaking of illegal aliens, just read this morning that 2 Arizona laws have been shut down by the government relative to proving U.S. citizenship before voting.
Again?
Y'all read that?
They're doing it again, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the slam to SB 1070 that they gave us.
So who is that? Is that another one of these lower court judges that did this, or?
I just glanced at the headline and
oh wow, I haven't read that.
Yeah.
It's two Arizona laws. They seemed like they were pretty similar. They wasn't a House bill and a state, and a Senate bill. They were laws signed into law, but the court said that they were unconstitutional because they inhibited and repressed the voter repression is what they said.
How can that be when it says you have to be a citizen to vote in this country?
Oh, but if you make somebody prove it, that's repression.
Come on.
Well, the nuance to what you're talking about is that in 2022, under Ducey and the Republican-led controlled legislature, they passed a couple of laws, and one of them is one of the 2 that you're talking about, I think, Paul. But it basically has to do with what does a county recorder's office that manages the voter registrations in each county. The issue is, what do they have to do to check in other government databases if they suspect that somebody isn't a citizen, or in order to prove that they are a citizen? And so, but fortunately, we do have what the voters of Arizona passed in 2004, which says you have to prove citizenship in order to be registered to vote. Okay. So that has not been stricken or struck. What's the right one there?
Stricted.
The voters of Arizona passed that by more than 60%. So the fundamental expectation, as approved by Arizona voters more than 20 years ago, still requires proof of citizenship to register to vote.
That's the intent. Yeah.
The nuance that's being challenged and ruled back and forth by these appellate courts is little tiny details about what county election and voter registration departments, how many databases do they have to check in order to prove that somebody is or isn't a citizen. And hopefully the ultimate decisions, when those are appealed to the Supreme Court, will affirm what the Arizona voters voted more than 20 years ago, which is you got to prove that you're a citizen in order to register to vote in Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Another one that's kind of interesting is Trump's executive order making English the official language of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be interesting.
That will be I'm sure attacked many times. I mean, I think I read in California they have to put the voter information in 27 different languages to
ridiculous
meet the requirements. This is America. English is our language. You know, you either learn to speak English or don't. But don't.
Yeah, but I'd like to see that followed up by legislation from.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know, the upper and lower houses, because that's going to be tough to stand alone. I
appreciate what you said, Jeff.
Yeah.
But but the problem is Congress has never had worked up the courage to do that, and we don't know.
Well,
you know what is their rationalization for not making English the official language of the United States?
Well, you know, we want to be welcoming to all, but that means assimilate.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have a culture here we want to preserve, and that's the bottom line.
You have to come through one of the ports of entry, or come into the country on a visa, and you have to assimilate if you want to live here.
Yes.
And that's been, that's been true ever since Ellis Island days when all the folks came.
That's what's melted the pot called America.
That's right.
Is common language and assimilation.
Yeah.
You can still celebrate your heritage from the countries that you came from, whether it was you or your parents or your grandparents or whatever, but you also have to assimilate in and learn English. And the successful cultures, the Germans, the Italians, the Irish, all of the different ones that had large, comparatively at that time, large immigrations into the U.S.
Right.
The sooner they learned English and assimilated, the more successful their families and cultures were.
Exactly.
Became.
And we created St. Patrick's Day, and they can and they can still have their Oktoberfest, and everybody can do all those things. But you
Cinco de Mayo, and
your loyalty has to be this. See, that's the argument with birthright citizenship. The Constitution says that it says that your loyalties of your parents have to be to this country, and that's the problem with birthright citizenship. The people that have babies that are not loyal to this country, not citizens, so they're not
under the jurisdiction thereof.
Yeah, under the jurisdiction thereof, which that means, right? That's why they defined it that way to cover the slaves, right? Because
they did,
and had nothing to do.
But again, that needs to be, that's going to be challenged in the court, and the legislative branch needs to get involved, and they need to get involved now.
Yeah, I've been hammering all these congressmen about getting quick legislation to curb some of these judges and what they're doing, and I know Darrell Issa is still working on that, and I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago and last week. But hopefully that'll actually happen, because the Supreme Court didn't help us out the other night by letting that $2 billion of USAID money. And one of the things I was going to ask you guys, USAID was created by an executive order from John Kennedy.
Right.
So
so it can be shut down. Tomorrow.
What's going to keep Trump from nullifying his executive order? Nothing, right?
But the question is, if the Congress appropriates specific monies for specific purposes,
that's right. Yeah.
Can a president unilaterally ignore those and not spend it?
I say yes.
That's a tough one, though. Because we went through this with the wall. Yeah. Because they appropriated money and then just shut it down.
Yeah. We weren't too happy when a Republican Congress put money in the budget for a wall and then Biden ignored it and
Exactly.
Diverted those monies to other things. But
Yeah, exactly.
this is a two-way sword that needs to be worked
It
out
is. That's
by
right.
the legislature.
Yes. That's right.
Our sword is bigger.
At the moment, yes.
At the moment.
Or we
At
keep
the-
our side sharper. But the way we keep our side sharper is
Figuring it out long
these,
term.
back up these executive orders with legislation adopted by the branch of the people, which is the legislature.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
Signed by the executive.
yeah. With that note, we're just about up here on the hour, and we want to let Jeff get back on the road so he can get home. And
All right,
everybody's going to be happy anniversary to Ken.
Happy anniversary, Ken.
Paul and Jeff,
Thank
have
you.
safe trips. Godspeed on your trips to Colorado and Spain. And that's a long trip to Spain. How are you going to do that, Jeff? You going to couple of flights?
Yeah, a couple flights.
Yeah. That's a good long trip.
Give the wife a little Benadryl and
there you go. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. We will
Take
see
care,
you.
guys.
We will see you back in 2 weeks. And thanks these gentlemen for joining us, and we appreciate it very much.
Appreciate you
We will
guys.
see you in 2 weeks on 4 Men in America. Thank you.
Bye-bye.